The storm above the planet Valara raged like a living thing. Lightning tore through green clouds and winds howled across the silver plains. In the middle of that storm, a burning object fell from the sky, bright, fast, and dying. Commander Zarath, a Valari scientist, watched from his observatory. His scanners blinked red. "Unknown object," his assistant said. "It's not ours." Zarath narrowed his eyes. The reading was old, very old, bound from a species long gone. He whispered, "Human." The crash site was deep in the frozen canyons. When Zarath and his search team arrived, they found metal wreckage scattered for kilometers. Smoke and heat rose from the ground. Inside the broken escape pod, among twisted metal and shattered glass, a sound echoed. A cry. It was small, weak, but alive. Zarath stepped closer and froze. Inside the wreck was a human baby, wrapped in burned cloth, covered in dust, but breathing. The Valari guards looked horrified. "Commander," one said, "that species destroyed itself centuries ago. We cannot touch it." Zarath ignored him. He lifted the baby gently. The child's tiny hand gripped his clawed finger. Warm, fragile, alive. "This is not a weapon," Zarath said quietly. "This is life." The council did not agree. The Valari council hall glowed with pale blue light. High above the marble floor, 10 elder figures floated in shimmering pods. "A human," the high speaker hissed. "You brought one here?" Zarath stood firm. "It is only a child. There is no reason to fear him." The speaker leaned forward. "You forget history, Commander. Humanity brought fire and death to the stars. They poisoned worlds. They vanished because they could not control themselves." Zarath lowered his eyes but did not back down. "Maybe. But if this child lives, maybe he can be different." After long silence, the council sighed. "Raise him then," the speaker said coldly. "But his existence is your responsibility." Years passed. The child, Kale, grew quickly. His mind was sharp, his body stronger than any Valari child. He learned their language within months and their history within years. The Valari taught him about peace, logic, and unity. He listened carefully, but sometimes asked strange questions. Why do we never fight back when others attack us? Why do we run from storms instead of standing against them? The Valari always gave the same answer. Because survival is not about strength. It is about wisdom. But Kale's eyes told another story. Zarath often watched him in silence, training with others, smiling, laughing. Yet there was something in Kale's movements. Something powerful, restless like a storm waiting behind calm skies. One day during a defense training session, a group of Valari students practiced with small combat drones. The drones fired soft plasma bolts meant for training. Kale's turn came. The drone spun toward him faster and faster. A bolt hit his shoulder, unburning his skin slightly. Kale didn't fall. Instead, he stepped forward. The drone fired again. Kale raised his hand and caught the drone mid-air. Metal cracked under his grip. Sparks burst. He crushed it like paper. Silence filled the training ground. No one spoke. No one moved. The other students stared at him wide-eyed. The instructor whispered. He broke military-grade metal. With his bare hand. Kale looked confused, almost afraid of himself. "I didn't mean to," but the whispers had already begun. "What is he? Is he dangerous?" Maybe the stories were true. That night, Kyle sat alone under the glowing trees, staring at his hands. Zarath approached quietly. "You're not in trouble," he said softly. Kale looked up. "I didn't try to hurt it, it just happened." Zarath nodded slowly. "Your strength is part of who you are. But strength must have purpose. Promise me you'll use it to protect, not to destroy." Kale nodded. "I promise." Zarath smiled, but worry lingered behind his eyes. Later that night, after Kale went to sleep, Zarath returned to his observatory. The storm outside had passed, leaving the sky clear. The stars shimmered, calm and endless. Then suddenly his console beeped. A message, old and encrypted, coming through a forgotten channel. Zarath opened it, expecting static. Instead, a voice whispered through the speakers. "This is Terran Command. Final broadcast. If any human survives, do not let him reach adulthood. Repeat, do not let him reach adulthood." Zarath froze. The message repeated again and again, fading into static. He stood there for a long time, silent, the sound echoing in his mind. He looked through the glass window at the distant village below, where a small human child slept peacefully under alien skies. Zarath whispered to himself, "No, I will not follow your order." He deleted the message and turned off the console. Outside, the night was quiet, but the stars seemed to burn a little brighter, as if they were watching. The unexpected war had already begun. 15 years passed on the peaceful planet of Valara. The human child Kyle was no longer a boy. He had grown tall and strong, stronger than any Valari soldier. His eyes were bright, full of questions that no one dared to answer. He worked beside Commander Zarath, his adoptive father and mentor, helping in research labs and rescue missions. The Valari had accepted him, or so he thought, but whispers still followed him wherever he went. He's not one of us. He learns too fast. What if the stories about humans are true? Kale tried to ignore them, but deep down he felt it. The invisible wall that separated him from the others. One cold morning, Kale stood at the edge of the training grounds, overlooking the crystal plains. Valari soldiers were practicing defense drills. Zarath watched from the tower above. Kale picked up a training staff, spinning it with effortless speed. The soldiers stopped to stare. His movements were sharper, faster, more natural. The captain frowned. "Human," the captain said coldly. "You were not invited to this session." Kale stopped. "I just wanted to help." "We don't need your kind of help," the captain said. "Your strength may break our walls." A few soldiers laughed nervously. Kale's eyes darkened, but he said nothing. He dropped the staff and walked away. Zarath saw everything from above and felt anger rise in his chest. That night, Kale climbed the observatory tower where Zarath worked late. The old commander was studying star charts. "Father," Kale said quietly, "why do they fear me?" Zarath sighed and turned to him. "Because they don't understand you. They fear what they cannot control." Kale looked out at the glowing sky. "Then why did you save me?" "Because you deserve to live," Zarath said firmly. "Because you are not the past." Kyle frowned. "What past?" Zarath hesitated, then walked to a sealed data panel. He opened it, showing old holograms, burning planets, fleets of metal ships, and human soldiers marching under red skies. "Long ago," Zarath said, "humans ruled the stars. They were powerful, brave, and dangerous. They built empires, then destroyed them. When they vanished, many believed it was a blessing." Kale watched in silence, seeing faces like his for the first time. "So I'm the last of them?" Zarath nodded slowly. "As far as we know." "Yes," Kale clenched his fists. "Then I will prove them wrong. I will show them humans can build, not destroy." Zarath smiled sadly. "That is why I raised you." Days later, disaster struck. A violent storm ripped through the western forests of Valara. Whole villages were trapped under falling crystal trees and burning wrecks. The Valari rescue teams could not reach them in time. Kale didn't wait for orders. He ran into the storm alone. Wind tore at his skin. Lightning flashed above, but he kept moving. He lifted fallen beams, carried injured villagers, and dug through rubble with his bare hands. When the rescue teams finally arrived, they found Kale standing in the rain, surrounded by the saved. His body was covered in burns and cuts, but he was still standing. The captain stared in disbelief. "No Valari could survive that storm," he whispered. Zarath knelt beside Kyle. "You're hurt." Kyle smiled weakly. "They're alive. That's what matters." The survivors looked at him with awe, but also fear. His strength, his endurance, it was beyond alien. That night, as Kale rested in the medbay, the Valari Council gathered in secret. The High Speaker said, "He saved many lives, but he also revealed what he truly is, a weapon we cannot control." Another elder added, "If he grows stronger, who will stop him?" Zarath, standing before them, clenched his fists. "He has done nothing but protect you. How can you fear your savior?" The High Speaker's eyes glowed coldly. "History repeats, Commander. One human once burned 1,000 worlds. We will not let another rise." Zarath glared at them. "If you try to harm him, you'll face me." He left before they could respond. Kale woke later that night to a strange hum outside his window. He saw a light in the sky, a slow-moving shape, metallic and massive. He grabbed his binoculars and stared. The stars shimmered around it, But the object didn't match any Valari design. It was alien, a fleet. His heart raced. He ran to Zareth's observatory, where alarms were already flashing red. "What is it?" Kale asked. Zareth's voice trembled. "Not Valari. Not friendly. A transmission just came through. They call themselves the Wrath Dominion." Kale frowned. "What do they want?" Zareth hesitated. "To finish what they started centuries ago. They are looking for something. Or someone." Kyle felt a cold chill run down his spine. "Someone like me?" Zareth didn't answer. Hours later, the Dominion fleet sent a warning across the sky. Their voice echoed through every Valari screen. "We know the human lives among you. Surrender him, or we burn your world." Panic spread across Valara. The council blamed Zareth. Soldiers whispered that Kale had brought death to their planet. Kale stood outside the city gates, staring at the dark sky filled with stars, and the Valari sky burned red. Bright streaks of fire tore across the heavens as the Wrath Dominion fleet entered orbit. Their warships were huge, black metal giants glowing with red energy. The peaceful world of Valara had never seen anything like them. From the city towers, Valari citizens watched in silence. Fear spread faster than the storm winds. The council sent panicked transmissions, but the Dominion ignored them. They only sent one clear message: surrender the human, or your world will burn. Far above the surface, Kale's small ship raced toward the incoming fleet. The Dominion scanners detected him immediately. "Unidentified craft," a cold mechanical voice said over comms. "State your origin." Kale smirked. "Human origin." Then he cut the channel. Missiles launched from the Dominion ships, lighting up space like fireflies. Kale's ship spun hard, diving between them. His reflexes were sharper than any alien pilot's. Fast, human, unpredictable. He fired back using what few weapons he had: plasma bursts, old human torpedoes, even debris as shields. One Dominion ship exploded in a ball of fire. Another's engines went dark. Down on Valara, the sensors showed something no one could believe. One small ship was fighting a fleet. And winning. In the control center, Commander Zareth shouted orders. "Get him back." "That's a suicide mission." But the council didn't agree. "Let him fight," said the High Speaker coldly. "He is the reason they are here. If he dies, perhaps they'll leave us." Zareth turned sharply. "He's your only hope. Don't you see it?" But the elders turned away. Fear had already blinded them. In space, Kale's ship shook under enemy fire. The hull cracked, alarms screamed, and sparks filled the cockpit. He gritted his teeth. Not yet. He flew straight into a debris field, forcing the enemy ships to follow. Then, with perfect timing, he ejected a magnetic charge. The charge ignited the floating metal. A brilliant explosion that tore through 3 Dominion ships. Kale's ship flipped, smoke trailing, barely stable. He laughed to himself. Still human enough to improvise. The Dominion fleet backed off slightly, confused by his tactics, but Kale's ship was damaged. Systems failed one by one. He was losing oxygen. He opened the comm channel. "Zareth, if you can hear me, tell the council to prepare. They're not here for me. They're here for all of you." Then the line went dead. Zareth's hands trembled as he listened to the static. "Kale." Moments later, a Dominion command cruiser appeared above the capital. Its shadow swallowed the sunlight. Thousands of smaller ships descended through the atmosphere. The invasion had begun. Kale's ship, drifting in the upper atmosphere, was caught in the gravity of Valara and began to fall. Flames surrounded it as it entered the clouds. Kale fought with the controls, trying to keep it steady. He crashed near the southern forests, metal screaming, earth shaking. When he crawled out of the wreck, blood on his forehead, he saw smoke rising across the horizon. The Dominion had begun their attack. Kale clenched his fists. "You came for me? Fine, you'll get me." He looked up and saw Valari defense ships retreating, not fighting. His heart ached. His adoptive people were running, not standing. He started walking toward the capital, one man against an army. In the Valari Council Hall, panic ruled. The High Speaker shouted orders that no one followed. Explosions thundered in the distance. Zareth burst in, covered in dust. "Evacuate the cities." "The Dominion will kill everyone," one elder hissed, "all because of that human." "You brought this doom on us." Zareth slammed his fist on the table. "He's the only one who's fighting for you." Then the hall shook violently. Part of the ceiling collapsed, throwing the elders to the floor. Sirens wailed. Through the smoke, a soldier ran in. "The human is alive! He's coming this way!" The speaker looked up, frightened. "Then he'll die here with us." Outside the capital, Kale moved through the burning streets. Dominion drones floated overhead, scanning for survivors. He used fallen debris as cover, ambushing them one by one. He fought with stolen alien weapons and fast and brutal. Each move was instinctive, not trained. Something deep inside him remembered how to fight, like a memory older than his life. When a drone fired a plasma bolt, he caught its barrel mid-shot and turned it toward another machine, blowing both apart. A small group of Valari soldiers saw him from a distance, a lone human, glowing orange in the firelight, fighting machines twice his size. One whispered, "He fights like he was born for this," and others said, "He's terrifying." Kale finally reached the central plaza, where a massive Dominion walker towered over the ruins. It aimed its cannons at the city's energy core. One shot would destroy everything. Kale sprinted forward, dodging plasma fire. He jumped onto the walker, climbing its armored leg. The metal burned under his grip, but he didn't stop. He reached the top, tore open a hatch, and threw a plasma grenade inside. He leaped off as it exploded behind him, the shockwave throwing him across the ground. When the smoke cleared, the walker was gone. Only Kale remained, lying on the ground, breathing hard. The nearby Valari soldiers ran to him. "You saved the core,"
one said. Kale looked up at the sky, filled with enemy ships.
"Not yet," he whispered. "This is just the beginning." High above, on the Dominion flagship, the alien commander watched through holographic screens. His face was covered in black armor, his eyes glowing red. He turned to his officers. "The human is alive," one officer nodded. "Yes, my lord. He fights like the old ones." The commander's voice was cold and heavy. "Then we finish what our ancestors began. No human must ever rise again." He pointed toward Valara. "Prepare the main weapon. Burn the world." Back on the surface, Zarath found Kale among the ruins. "You can't fight them alone," he said. Kale smiled faintly. "I already am," Zarath shook his head. "There's something you need to know. The Dominion, and they were the ones who destroyed Earth." Kale froze. "What?" Zarath's eyes filled with sorrow. "They wiped out your people long ago. They thought none survived. Now they've found you." Kale looked at the burning sky, his voice calm but deadly. "Then humanity's war isn't over. It just began again." Dark clouds gathered over the Valari capital. The city of crystal spires, once bright and calm, now trembled under the echo of war drums. Kyle stood on the highest balcony of the Science Citadel, his eyes fixed on the horizon. He could see lights in the sky, unfamiliar, menacing lights, alien warships. Dozens of them. They were not Valari. Commander Zarath arrived beside him, his silver robe fluttering in the wind. His face was pale and his long ears twitched nervously. "Kyle," he said quietly, "they are here for you." Kyle turned sharply. "For me?" Zarath nodded. "The Council received a signal this morning. The fleet calls itself the Dominion of Purity. They believe humans are a threat that must be erased. Somehow they learned to human lives among us." Kale clenched his fists. "How?" Zarath hesitated. He remembered the hidden message he had received years ago, the warning that said no human must reach adulthood. He had deleted it, but perhaps others had not. Below them, Valari soldiers rushed through the streets. Defense turrets rose from the ground. Panic filled the air. The Valari were peaceful by nature, but they were not weak. Kale spoke again, voice calm but burning with anger. "Then we fight." Zarath looked at him sadly. "You were never meant for war, Kale. You were meant to be a bridge between our peoples." Kale looked at the sky again. "Then I'll bridge it with fire if I must." The first Dominion ships entered orbit. Red beams tore through the clouds, striking the Valari defense grid. The ground shook. The spires of the outer city shattered. Kale ran to the command center, where dozens of officers shouted in panic. "Shields down to 40%. Incoming fire from Sector 6. He took charge without hesitation. "Redirect all power to the western batteries. Evacuate the civilians to the underground shelters." The officers stared at him, a human giving orders in their language. But Zarath stepped forward and said firmly, "Do as he says." And they did. Kale's orders were sharp, fast, and effective. Within minutes, Valari gunships rose to meet the attackers. The skies turned into chaos, beams, explosions, smoke. Kale sprinted to a crashed gunship nearby. The pilot was wounded. Without thinking, Kale lifted the entire metal panel off the wreck with his bare hands. The alien soldiers froze in shock. How can he do that? One whispered. Kyle just growled, "Help him to safety." They obeyed. Hours later, the command center was half destroyed. Fires burned everywhere. Zarath's voice crackled through the comms. "Kale! The Dominion has landed ground troops near the Science Citadel. They're searching for you." Kale grabbed a plasma rifle from a fallen guard and started running toward the Citadel. When he arrived, the scene was terrifying. Dominion soldiers in dark armor, moving like machines, breaking through Valari defenses. He rushed in. "Get away from them!" They turned, weapons raised, but Kyle was already moving. He was faster than any Valari. He slammed into them with inhuman strength. Metal armor cracked. One alien went flying through a wall. He wasn't trained for battle, but his instincts, something deep, ancient, guided him. When the last soldier fell, Kale stood among the ruins, breathing heavily. His arm was cut and bleeding blue. Not Valari blue, not human red. A strange mix of both. Zarath arrived moments later, his face filled with horror and awe. "Kyle, what are you becoming?" Kale looked down at his hands, trembling. "I don't know." That night, the surviving Valari gathered in the deep shelters. The Dominion fleet hovered above like predators waiting for dawn. Kale sat alone.
The sky above Valera was no longer blue. It burned red with the light of enemy engines. Kale stood alone on the city's outer platform, wind roaring around him as the first Dominion dreadnought descended through the clouds. The ship was a mountain of metal, black, sharp-edged, its hull glowing with red symbols. Through the storm came the voice of Zarath, trembling over the comms. "Kale, come back. You can't fight them alone." Kale's voice was calm. "I'm not fighting them. I'm ending this." He stepped forward as the dreadnought's hangar opened. Dozens of Dominion soldiers in gray armor marched out, weapons drawn. At their center stood a tall figure in silver armor, the Dominion commander. "Human," the commander's voice boomed. "You were a mistake that should have been erased. And now, you will be." Kale's eyes glowed faintly. "You talk too much." The commander raised a hand, and energy bolts screamed through the air. Kale moved. No training could explain what followed. He dashed forward with speed beyond anything the Valari could imagine. Blasts of plasma missed by inches. He grabbed one soldier's arm and swung him into two others. Metal armor cracked. Sparks exploded. He wasn't fighting like a soldier. He was fighting like something older, something made to survive. But even as he fought, he felt something inside him awakening, a burning energy under his skin, pulsing with every heartbeat. From the underground shelters, the Valari watched the battle through trembling monitors. Children gasped. Elders prayed. Zarath stared at the screen, whispering, "Kale, what are you doing?" Beside him, General Talon, the head of Valari defense, looked uneasy. "That human, he fights like a god." Zarath shook his head. "No. Like a weapon that was never meant to exist." Back above, Kale punched through another soldier's chest plate, breathing hard. But the Dominion commander didn't move. "You think strength will save you, human?" the commander said coldly. "You are the product of what destroyed your own kind." Kale froze. "What do you mean?" The commander stepped closer. "The human empire fell because of your kind. Modified humans, soldiers built to end wars. You were their last creation before they burned their worlds. The Dominion remembers. And we swore to destroy you if you ever rose again." Kale stared shocked. "That's not true." But then he remembered flashes, dreams he never understood. Fires. Screams. A man's voice shouting, "Activate Protocol Helios." And his eyes began to glow brighter. The commander smiled behind his mask. "Yes. You feel it, don't you? The power in your blood. You are not just human, you are the weapon they feared." Suddenly, pain struck Kale's head like lightning. Memories, foreign, fragmented, flooded his mind. Images of laboratories, human scientists arguing, children like him inside glowing pods. He fell to one knee, gasping. "No. I'm not one of them," the commander pointed his weapon. "Then prove it. Die like one of them." But the ground beneath them began to vibrate. Kale looked up, his eyes burning white now, his voice shaking the air. "No," he raised his hand, and the commander's weapon exploded in his grip. The soldiers stepped back in fear as Kale slowly rose, energy radiating from him like a storm. "You want a weapon?" he said quietly. "Then you'll get one." He leapt upward, straight into the sky. From orbit, the Dominion dreadnought's sensors went wild. A single life form was approaching faster than their ships could track. "Impossible," shouted one of the bridge officers. "He's breaching the shield." Kale crashed into the ship's hull with enough force to tear through layers of armor. Fire and pressure filled the corridors as alarms screamed. Inside the control chamber, the Dominion crew tried to lock onto him, but Kale was everywhere, tearing through conduits, smashing reactors, unstoppable. That he felt pain, yes, but beneath it was something deeper, a rage that wasn't his own. Something programmed, something ancient. When the ship's core went critical, Kale floated in the burning chamber, staring at the reactor's glow. "I won't be your weapon," he whispered. "Not again." He turned and flew out as the dreadnought exploded behind him, a brilliant fireball tearing across the sky. On Valera's surface, the explosion lit the night like a second sun. The Valari citizens watched in silence, then in awe. Zareth stared upward, tears in his eyes. "He's alive," but General Talon whispered, "For how long? You saw that power. If he can destroy ships like that, what happens if he loses control?" Zareth didn't answer. Deep down he feared the same thing. Moments later, Kale landed back on the surface. His clothes were scorched, his skin glowing faintly with strange light. Zareth ran to him. "Kale? Are you hurt?" Kale shook his head slowly. "No. But I saw something, Zareth. Something about what I am." Zareth looked at him with concern. "What did you see?" Kale's voice was quiet, almost trembling. "I wasn't just found in that escape pod. I was sent." Suspense end, the words hung in the air like thunder. Zareth froze. "Sent? By who?" Kale looked up at the burning sky. "By humans. They sent me here, before everything ended." And far above them, beyond the stars, a new signal blinked to life. A signal carrying ancient Terran code. It read, "Unit Helios 9 located. Activation sequence beginning." The screen flickered to black. The night over Valera was heavy and silent. The smoke from the destroyed Dominion ships still drifted across the sky, turning the stars into pale flickers. Kale stood on a cliff overlooking the ruins of the city. His body still glowed faintly with the strange energy coursing through him. The same power that had destroyed the dreadnought. Commander Zareth approached slowly. His face was pale, worry etched deep. "Kale, there's something you need to know. The signal you received, it's not just from them. It's from your people. From long ago." Kale's brow furrowed. "From humans? But they're gone." Zareth nodded. "Officially, yes. But some programs survived. Some commands were sent into space, into the stars, waiting." Kale clenched his fists. "Waiting for what?" "Waiting for you," Zareth said quietly. Back in the observatory, Zareth pulled up a holographic console. The screen showed a looping transmission, faint, flickering, almost ghostly. Terran symbols scrolled across the projection. "It's an old message," Zareth explained. "From the human empire before it fell. They created a program called Unit Helios 9. You are it." Kale's eyes widened. "Me? I'm a weapon?" Zareth shook his head. "Not just a weapon. You were designed to survive, to adapt, to protect humanity's last hope, or destroy anyone who threatens it." Kale stepped back, shaking his head. "So, everything I did, everything I felt, was planned?" Zareth's voice was firm. "No. You chose your path. You fought for Valera because you are stronger than any code. You are human, you decide what kind of human you want to be." Kale's hands glowed brighter as he absorbed the truth. "Then the Dominion, they were hunting me because they remembered my people?" "Yes," Zareth said. "They feared what humans could become. And now, they will stop at nothing to finish what they started." Suddenly, the observatory alarm blared. The Dominion fleet was returning. Faster. Larger. And this time they weren't alone. "They've called reinforcements," Zareth said grimly. "Thousands more ships are approaching. Valera cannot survive a second wave." Kale's face hardened. "Then we don't wait. We fight." Zareth grabbed him. "Kale, you can't do this alone. Even with your power, the fleet is too big." "Kale." The night over Valera was heavy and silent. The smoke from the destroyed Dominion ships still drifted across the sky, turning the stars into pale flickers. Kale stood on a cliff overlooking the ruins of the city. His body still glowed faintly with the strange energy coursing through him, the same power that had destroyed the dreadnought. Commander Zareth approached slowly. His face was pale, worry etched deep. "Kale, there's something you need to know. The signal you received, it's not just from them. It's from your people. From long ago." Kale's brow furrowed. From humans? But they're gone. Zareth nodded. Officially, yes. But some programs survived. Some commands were sent into space, into the stars, waiting. Kale clenched his fists. Waiting for what? Waiting for you, Zareth said quietly. Back in the observatory, Zareth pulled up a holographic console. The screen showed a looping transmission, faint, flickering, almost ghostly. Terran symbols scrolled across the projection. It's an old message, Zareth explained. From the human empire before it fell. They created a program called Unit Helios 9. You are it. Kale's eyes widened. Me? I'm a weapon? Zareth shook his head. Not just a weapon. You were designed to survive. To adapt. To protect humanity's last hope, or destroy anyone who threatens it. Kale stepped back, shaking his head. So, everything I did, everything I felt, was planned? Zareth's voice was firm. No. You chose your path. You fought for Valera because you are stronger than any code. You are human, you decide what kind of human you want to be. Kale's hands glowed brighter as he absorbed the truth. Then the Dominion, they were hunting me because they remembered my people? Yes, Zareth said. They feared what humans could become. And now, they will stop at nothing to finish what they started. Suddenly the observatory alarm blared. The Dominion fleet was returning. Faster. Larger. And this time they weren't alone. They've called reinforcements, Zareth said grimly. Thousands more ships are approaching. Valera cannot survive a second wave. Kale's face hardened. Then we don't wait. We fight. Zareth grabbed him. Kale, you can't do this alone. Even with your power, the fleet is too big. Kale smiled faintly. Maybe, but I've learned something the Dominion never understood. Humans, we don't give up. Outside, the sky was alive with fire and light. Valari defense ships rose, but they were dwarfed by the incoming fleet. The ground shook as Dominion dropships began descending, raining small plasma bombs that ignited the crystal spires. Kale ran to the nearest hill, energy crackling around him. He raised his hands and the air shimmered. Every Dominion ship in the sky hesitated, sensing a force beyond comprehension. Then Kale jumped. He launched into the sky like a comet, leaving trails of energy in his wake. The Dominion fleet tried to attack, but every missile, every beam, was intercepted by Kale's raw power. Ships disintegrated mid-air. He moved faster than their weapons could track, smarter than any algorithm. Zareth watched, awestruck. He's controlling them, he whispered. He's not just fighting, he's bending the battle to his will. From the shadows, a Valari engineer said quietly, it's like watching a living star destroy the darkness. But Zareth knew better. No, he murmured. It's a human, the last human. Kale finally reached the Dominion flagship. The commander was waiting, eyes glowing red behind his mask. You cannot win, the commander said. Even if you destroy my fleet, more will come. Kale's voice was low, cold. I don't fight to win. I fight to protect. He struck the dreadnought with a single punch, energy bursting out, tearing the ship apart from the inside. Explosions spread through the corridors, ripping the metal like paper. The commander's eyes widened. Kale hovered above the wreckage. Your war is over, he said quietly. And then, for the first time he heard it, a voice not from Zareth, not from the Dominion, but from the stars themselves. It was faint, distant, yet unmistakable. Unit Helios 9, your mission is complete. Humanity awaits your command. Kale landed softly on the ground, energy fading from his body. The Valari gathered around him, awestruck and silent. Zareth approached, tears in his eyes. Kale, what will you do now? Kale looked up at the stars, his face calm but resolute. I will protect this world, and any world that needs saving. But I will decide how it is done. I am human, and I choose my own path. The surviving Valari bowed to him, fear replaced by awe. For the first time they understood, this child raised among them was more than a legend. He was the protector of the galaxy, the last remnant of a species long gone, and the spark of hope for the stars. Far above, the ruins of the Dominion fleet burned in silence. And somewhere, across the empty reaches of space, the message continued to pulse, waiting for the one it had always chosen, the human who had learned to fight, to care, and to rise. Ending suspense hook. Kale looked at the stars and a faint signal blinked again. New ships, distant worlds, unknown threats. He clenched his fists, a calm smile on his face. Let them come, he whispered. I am ready. The galaxy held its breath.